Greetings and salutations, Patriots. Welcome to the Raw Feed. My name is Brett Siegel, filling in for the great Gary Franchi. I always broadcast to you live from my safe space in a bunker down here in northern Florida, where I'm always free from your bigotry, racism, hatred, microaggressions, patriarchy, and your rubber baby bunker busters. And we are always streaming to you live to millions of people worldwide on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Now, what sets us apart from every other show out there? We are not just talking at you, we are talking with you. Your reactions, your comments, your thoughts in the live chat, they are a part of this show. So fire up those keyboards and let's do this together. Now, before we dive in today's explosive topics, I need you to do something critical. Share this stream right now. Text it to a friend. Make sure to use text, because big tech algorithms are always trying to block us. They're always trying to shadow ban us. And if you text them the link, it's going to be, we can bypass the big tech algorithms. And for our X viewers, repost this to your followers. We need every patriot hearing what is coming next. We will be reading your super chats and your Rumble rants between segments. And yes, even the ones you're sending right now before we begin. We'll feature them on the screen for the world to see. This is your show as much as it is ours. If you want to show off your favorite news source, check out our amazing merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. The link is in the description. Rock that Next News gear and let everyone know that you are awake and aware. Not woke, awake and aware. And if you want to support this show privately, if you believe in what we're doing here, those donation links are in the description. Definitely check those out. Head to www.givesendgo.com/Next News Network Alive or use PayPal. Every dollar helps us fight the information war. And here's something special. Become a YouTube channel member. Each level has its own perks. You get special acknowledgement in the chat room, exclusive access to the Next News team, behind the scenes uploads, and our members only 24-hour Discord chat. Join the inner circle of patriots who make this show possible. Now, speaking of history, today, June 26th, you know what happened on this date in 1963? President John F. Kennedy stood at the Berlin Wall and declared, "Ich bin ein Berliner." I am a Berliner. He stood against communist tyranny, against the division of free people, against the forces that would crush human liberty. That's right, communism. And here we are, 62 years later, watching a socialist just win the New York City Council mayoral primary, while President Trump forces NATO to finally pay their fair share for the defense of freedom. History doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme oftentimes. It is week 22 of Donald Trump's historic return to the White House, and tonight we've got 5 stories that will prove that the establishment's worst nightmare are literally coming true. NATO's allies are opening their wallets like never before, 5% of GDP for their defense because Trump demanded it. Iran's nuclear program, obliterated. That's right, obliterated. You're probably going to hear that word a lot in the coming weeks, not just from me, but I'm going to say it a lot. It was turned to dust under a mountain of American military might. New York City, they just nominated a card-carrying socialist communist who wants to abolish the police while hiding behind armed guards. Talk about hypocrisy. Gas prices, they're dropping. The media having an absolute meltdown because they can't spin away Trump's unmitigated victories. Tonight, we are going to expose how Trump just achieved what every president since Reagan has been bloviating about. We're going to make our allies pay their fair share. We are revealing the 15-year secret operation that just wiped out Iran's nuclear dreams. We're going to show you why Florida's governor is thanking New York City for their socialist stupidity. We're documenting the media's complete mental breakdown as they try to deny reality. This is nothing new here. And we're celebrating the return of American energy dominance with plummeting gas prices. This is the Raw Feed, where truth meets power, where your voice matters, and where the establishment lies come to die. Stay locked in, stay engaged, and let's expose what they don't want you to know. Now let's welcome you to the chat room. Hey, everyone. Hope y'all are doing well today. We need to get some awesome chats up in here. They've been having to spray it down due to the damaging the mechanisms. Sure you gospel. I'm assuming you're talking about Iran's nuclear program right now. Okay. Hi, fellow Florida men, and the N3 fam says Skonda Tech. Well, hello to you too. You're doing awesome, Brett. Mrs. Pothead Kenny, thank you so much. I think you're doing awesome too. You guys are always reliable out here in the chat. Thank you so much for joining in again today. Tom B420, Florida here. Yes, this is where we are right now. We are literally broadcasting to you live from Florida. I mean, arguably the best state in the nation, considering who we have for governor. Ron DeSantis. You know, listen, when Ron DeSantis tried to run for president, I was like, no, man, don't do it. We need you here in Florida. And thank goodness he lost because we still have him in Florida. Love that guy. All right, here we go. Let's go to our trivia question. Which famous journalist was fired from CBS News in 2004 after running a false story about President George W. Bush's military service? Was it A, Brian Williams, B, Dan Rather, C, Peter Jennings, or D, Tom Brokaw? Interesting question. I think I know this one. I didn't look ahead, you guys. Just so you know, I'm with you on these trivia questions. I didn't look ahead. I have access to the answer, but I certainly did not do that. We are all sitting in the same lifeboat together, and I want to make sure you all know that I did not look ahead, but I think I have an idea. We're going to figure this out later. Now picture this. 32 world leaders sitting around a table in the Netherlands, and one man from Queens just made them all reach for their checkbooks. This is like a demented fundraiser. You know, for decades, American taxpayers carried the weight while European nations spent their money on social programs instead of soldiers. Presidents begged, pleaded, negotiated. Nothing. But when Donald Trump walks in, now Estonia is writing checks for 5.4 of their GDP. Poland's president is admitting what everyone knows. Without Trump, this didn't happen. Poland is a great country. We love Poland. The biggest shift in NATO's funding since its founding just went down, and the fake news wants you to think it's no big deal. Wrong. This changes everything. Keep watching. But here's the hard truth. Every 6 years, your dollar loses half of its buying power. That means a $100,000 savings account today could feel like $50,000 by 2031. And you see it every time you fill up your tank, buy groceries, or try to take your kids out to dinner. Prices are up, the dollar is down. But here's a simple way to protect the value of your savings with something real, something proven. Gold. An asset that holds its value over time. And that's why I trust Noble Gold Investment. When I have enough money to make, they're going to make it simple to protect my savings with physical gold and silver. No high pressure sales, no call centers, just honest guidance, one-on-one support, and transparent pricing. And right now, when you open a qualified account, Noble Gold will send you a free 10-ounce silver American flag bar as a big thank you. Now head to nextnewsgold.com. You're going to want to learn more about this. Nextnewsgold.com. Don't just protect your wealth, preserve its power. Now, the numbers don't lie, and neither does history. For 75 years, America has been writing checks that our allies refuse to match. Today, that gravy train just hit its last stop. Before we dive in, let's check out this quick clip of Gary's final video from NATO. Check this out.
All right, folks, that's a wrap here at the NATO Summit. Gary Franchi, Next News Network. President Trump just finished his fiery press conference, about 45 minutes long, and it was something to behold. The room was hot, and President Trump was there. He's flanked by Rubio and Hegseth like a freaking boss. And it was something. Here we are, International Press Center, NATO Summit 2025. History has been made, not just by President Trump, but by the next friggin' news network. We'll see you guys on the flip side.
This is our trusty leader, Gary Franchi, and his wife, Angie, in The Hague in the Netherlands. We are broadcasting to you from the deepest corners of the earth. We will go anywhere to bring you the news. And it looked like an absolutely epic trip, and I cannot wait to see what Gary has to say about it when he comes back next Monday. Now watch as the White House press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, lays out what just happened in the Netherlands. This wasn't a suggestion or a request. President Trump demanded action, and for the first time in NATO's history, he got it. Take a look.
His fearless leadership guarantees America is once again respected across the world. Just look at what he was able to accomplish at the NATO Summit in the Netherlands. Many of you were there. Our allies agreed to invest 5% of their GDP annually in defense because President Trump demanded it. This will be the most significant reinforcement of NATO's collective defense in the history of the NATO alliance. And as a result, the United States of America will carry less of the burden, and our NATO allies will be stronger than ever before. As NATO Secretary General Rutte put it, for too long, one ally, the United States, and our taxpayers, I may add, carried too much of the burden of that commitment. And that changes today. President Trump made this change possible. We will produce trillions more for our common defense to make us stronger and fairer by equalizing spending between America and our allies. This is the Trump effect. This is what the president meant when he declared that America is back.
5% of GDP. Let that sink in for a second. Every single NATO nation just committed to military spending levels that previous administrations called impossible. They wouldn't even have the gall to ask for it. But it gets better. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth didn't mince words when he called this game-changing and historic. He's been there for the negotiations, watched other presidents try and fail. This guy's been around for a long time. Here's Hegseth putting it in perspective. This is what happens when you send a businessman to do a nincompoop's job.
What President Trump accomplished in NATO yesterday was game-changing and historic. A shift in burden sharing to the European responsibility in NATO that most would have said was impossible at the beginning of his term. But he said NATO needs to pay up. They started in the first term, and here in his second term, we've accelerated that. 32 NATO countries committed to spending 5% of their GDP on defense, on actually investing in the NATO alliance. So I hope with all the ink spilled, all of your outlets find the time to properly recognize this historic change in continental security that other presidents tried to do, other presidents talked about. President Trump accomplished it. It's a huge deal.
I like how we use the term with all the ink spilled. No blood spilled, unlike a lot of our other presidents. You know, this is a huge deal. Other presidents just talked and flew drones and dropped bombs like indiscriminately. You know, Trump has delivered on something major. That's the difference between a career politician and the man who built skyscrapers in Manhattan. Estonia is already ahead of the game, and their prime minister, Kristen McCall, isn't shy about it. They're at 5.4%, above what is required. Maybe they're just brown-nosing. Maybe they're just kissing butt. I mean, I would say now's the time, right? Watch as he explains what this means for NATO's future strength and why adversaries should be totally worried. Check it out.
It's a historic moment that we will be ramping up defense expenditure to 5%. I strongly, and Estonia strongly supports it. That means a message from NATO is coming that NATO is much stronger, more lethal. Estonia's defense expenditure next year will be already 5.4% of GDP. So that is also a message to our allies and our friends that NATO is strong and members are strong.
I like this. It's like world leaders are scurrying around trying to get on Trump's good side, because I mean, guess what happens when you get on his bad side? Everybody knows what happens when you get on his bad side. A simple tweet or a Truth Social post can end your political career. We're much stronger. We're more lethal. Those aren't diplomatic words. That's a warning to Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, all the places that want to see us wiped off the face, right? NATO just grew some teeth, actually. Only because of Trump, though. Now, here's where it gets real. The Polish president just said the quiet part out loud. Without Trump's leadership, this deal was impossible. Let me just say, I love Poland. I love Polish people. Polish people are my favorite people. They are some of my favorite people. It's not difficult. It's not challenging. Listen to him admit what every world leader knows but won't say publicly. This is why we love Poland.
The position of the President of the United States is the strongest in the alliance. So I understand that without the support of and without the leadership of Donald Trump, it would be impossible.
The strongest position in the alliance belongs to the American president, and Trump just used it like a hammer on an anvil. Even the European Union's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, had to admit the truth. This summit had one focus: 5% defense spending. No weird climate, Green New Deal discussion, no DEI diversity panels, no weird social justice seminars with Robin DiAngelo coming in to talk about white fragility, just cold, hard cash for our collective defense. That's what it's here for. Check it out.
This summit is about one thing and one thing only. This is 5% and more defense investments. And their, allies seem to be united. I think the understanding is everybody needs to do more for defense because we are living in very turbulent times. And that is the agreement where the allies are united.
Turbulent times require serious leaders to make serious decisions and serious commitments. And that is what Trump has demanded, and that is what he has delivered. Now, think about what just happened. American taxpayers have been footing the bill for European security since 1949. We didn't have to be involved like that. Of course, America is like the worst place in the world, except we're the most charitable country, like in the history of humanity. We rebuilt their cities after World War II. Who does that? We protected them during the Cold War. Who does that? And we kept writing checks while they built their own welfare states. Who does that? Those days are totally over. Trump's negotiating style, call it hard line. Some might call it America first. Doesn't matter. It just forced the most significant shift in burden sharing in NATO's history. No more free rides, no more excuses, no more American taxpayers carrying the load while European nations spend their money on everything except defense. Like, you want to talk about Happy Meals for illegal immigrants? Europe is being overrun on our dime. The Trump doctrine is simple. Pay your fair share or defend yourself. Guess what? They chose to pay. Because when the man who wrote The Art of the Deal sits across the table, you better bring a checkbook. This isn't about money. This is about basic, simple respect. Not biting. It's about not biting the hand that feeds you. It's about allies actually being allies and acting like allies, representing themselves like allies, instead of just dependents who keep saying, please, sir, I want some more. It's about America leading from strength, not begging from weakness. Now, if you got value from this report, please tap subscribe. My final thought is next. This NATO deal rewrites the world order. For the first time since 1949, Europe will defend Europe. American taxpayers just got the greatest return on investment in modern history, and our allies are finally paying their bills. Trump didn't ask nicely. He didn't send diplomats with briefcases and pocket protectors with clipboards. He demanded results, and he got them. 5% of GDP means trillions in new defense spending. This is incredible. And not only that, it's totally reasonable. That's real money for real security. But here's what matters to you sitting at home. Every dollar that our allies spend is a dollar that you get to put back into your bank account or something that can be spent on our homeland. Every tank they buy is one that we don't have to buy for them. Every soldier they train is one less burden on our military families, our Gold Star families, the people who have paid the ultimate price. This is what America First looks like in action. And here's my question. Should America pull out of NATO completely if any nation fails to meet the 5% commitment? Drop yes or no. This is a complicated question. We don't want to stand on ceremony all the time, but at the same time, I mean, maybe they should be just kicked out. You know, I mean, listen, NATO could be a great thing if we do it right. You know, allyship is a good thing. But if we don't do it right, it's a bad thing. And why should we do it? And remember, support the truth tellers. Check out our merch shop on the description at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. All right, let's hit the chats. All right. Let's see. All right. I hope men in the Republican Party are taking notes. We don't want weak punk presidents later, says Jose. I agree with you entirely. You know, I often sometimes wonder what's going to happen when Donald, you know, he's reaching the twilight of his life. Like I wonder who's going to take the reins on the MAGA agenda. That makes me a little nervous. What do you think? Drop it in the chat. Let's see what you think. Make your voice heard. Hit that. All right, that's a Rumble bot. Sorry. Yes, drop NATO anyway. NATO propaganda, says Chris Barnes. You know, I listen, I tend to agree, but you know, listen. You know, it's like we wouldn't drop the US Constitution just because it was made a mockery out of by people like Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. You know, perhaps there's something to be saved there. Perhaps there is. I don't know. Maybe. I would say let the man cook. Let Trump cook. Let him cook. The man is doing such an amazing job. Never would have thought in my life that anyone could do such a good job. He used to say, we're gonna be winning so much, you're gonna get tired of winning. Let me ask you folks, are you tired of winning? Are you? Really? I don't think so. Let's see what happens. What's the most sacred duty and the greatest source of our security in a republic? An inviolable respect for the Constitution and laws. Alexander Hamilton from Robert Lockhart. Robert always coming in with the poignant quotes that we all need to hear. Love that stuff, Robert. Thank you so much. 2 American officers spent 15 years dreaming about one target. Not metaphorically, literally dreaming. They studied every rock, every vent, every inch of concrete. They knew where Iran bought the steel, who poured the foundation, which trucks delivered supplies. They watched a mountain become a fortress designed for one purpose, building nuclear weapons. These men dedicated their careers to solving an impossible problem. How do you destroy something buried underneath a mountain? Their obsession led to creating a weapon that didn't exist at the time, testing it hundreds of times, perfecting it for one moment. Last Saturday, that moment arrived. Literally right after we finished the show, that moment arrived. The phone rang. The president gave the order. What happened next will echo throughout world history. Keep watching. You know, with President Trump's Made in America agenda eyeing import tariffs, the race for secure domestic supply just hit overdrive. Copper is charging back towards last year's record, hovering around $4.85 a pound as global stockpiles scrape 15-year lows. Enter Giant Mining Corp, ticker BFGFF in the US and BFG in Canada. Their 9,800-acre Majuba Hill project sits in mining-friendly Nevada, right beside highway, rail, power, and gas and fiber. Recent drilling delivered a 170-foot copper zone averaging 0.4%, capped by a 10-foot streak running 4.4% copper, the kind of punch that majors pay billions for. Engineering from RESPEC is already fast-tracking the first NI 43101 resource, so Majuba could leap from a drill rig to development while rivals get tangled in new red tape. In a super cycle where projects that move fast win, Giant Mining checks every box. Discover more at giantminingcorp.com, on the OTC at BFGFF in the US and BFG in Canada. 15 years. That's how long it took to plan the perfect kill. 2 officers from the Defense Threat Reduction Agency just proved that patience pays off. General Dan Caine, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, revealed the untold story. In 2009, these men were brought into a vault, shown classified images of Iranian construction in the mountains. Their mission: to understand it, to study it, and to obliterate it. Watch as he explains their obsession. Check this out.
Let me next move to a walkthrough of the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator weapon and share a little bit about the planners who did this and their work on the weapon. First, let me set the stage for you. There's an organization in the U.S. called the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, DTRA. DTRA does a lot of things for our nation, but DTRA is the world's leading expert on deeply buried underground targets. In 2009, a Defense Threat Reduction Agency officer was brought into a vault at an undisclosed location and briefed on something going on in Iran. For security purposes, I'm not going to share his name. He was shown some photos and some highly classified intelligence of what looked like a major construction project in the mountains of Iran. He was tasked to study this facility, work with the intelligence community to understand it, and he was soon joined by an additional teammate.
This is the kind of genius that you only find in places like America that set the stage for the kind of freedom that other first world countries enjoy. It just wasn't a thing until we became a thing, and this was just the beginning. These warriors of planning didn't just study blueprints. They empathized and they put their mind inside of the minds of the people who they were trying to target. The dedication went beyond duty. These men were obsessed. They studied where Iran sourced their concrete, tracked every delivery truck, memorized the ventilation patterns. It's like that. It's like The Rock when Sean Connery had to get back into Alcatraz. It's like, who breaks back into Alcatraz? They dreamed about this mountain fortress at night. 15 years of their lives focused on this one goal. None of us even knew that it was happening. That's awesome to me. I don't want to know about all this stuff. Do you want to know about all this stuff before it happens? I don't. I'm a civilian. If I know about it, then the bad guys know about it. Listen to how deep this commitment ran. Take a look.
For more than 15 years, this officer and his teammate lived and breathed this single target, Fordow, a critical element of Iran's covert nuclear weapons program. He studied the geology. He watched the Iranians dig it out. He watched the construction, the weather, the discard material, the geology, the construction materials, where the materials came from. He looked at the vent shaft, the exhaust shaft, the electrical systems, the environmental control systems, every nook, every crater, every piece of equipment going in and every piece of equipment going out. They literally dreamed about this target at night when they slept. They thought about it driving back and forth to work, and they knew from the very first days what this was for. You do not build a multi-layered underground bunker complex with centrifuges and other equipment in a mountain for any peaceful purpose.
This is going to be an epic movie one day. Mark my words. I don't know who's going to star in it, but believe me, this is going to make the best movie. This is going to be a blockbuster if Hollywood can get its stuff together. You know, you don't build centrifuges inside of a mountain for peaceful purposes. Every American should remember that. But here's where it gets interesting. They realized that America didn't have a weapon that could penetrate Fordow. So what do Americans do? We build them. The GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, 30,000 pounds of American balls, designed for one purpose. Watch how they brought this monster to life.
And along the way, they realized we did not have a weapon that could adequately strike and kill this target. So they began a journey to work with industry and other tacticians to develop the GBU-57. They tested it over and over again, tried different options, tried more after that. They accomplished hundreds of test shots and dropped many full-scale weapons against extremely realistic targets for a single purpose: kill this target at the time and place of our nation's choosing. And then, on a day in June of 2025, more than 15 years after they started their life's work, the phone rang and the President of the United States ordered the B-2 force that you've supported to go strike and kill this target.
Look, the pundit in me wants to say strategic, yada, yada, precision, yada, yada. But the little kid in me is just thinking, this is freaking cool. This is so cool. This is something out of like a Avengers movie. This is something that Tony Stark probably wouldn't have been able to imagine himself. Or that's Iron Man for those who don't know. But listen, hundreds of test shots, years of refinement, waiting for one phone call from the president. You think Kamala Harris would have made that phone call? If you do, please pass whatever you're smoking this way. Now witness the moment of truth. Iran tried to protect their facility by pouring concrete caps over the ventilation shafts. It's like trying to stick a Band-Aid on the AIDS virus, okay? They just simply were not going to... A concrete cap? They thought that was going to stop us. Okay, General Caine explains how the planners turned their defenses into a nuclear tomb. Check it out.
The United States decided to strike these two ventilation shafts, seen here on the main graphic, as the primary point of entry into the mission space. In the days preceding the attack against Fordow, the Iranians attempted to cover the shafts with concrete to try to prevent an attack. I won't share the specific dimensions of the concrete cap, but you should know that we know what the dimensions of those concrete caps were. The planners had to account for this. They accounted for everything. The cap was forcibly removed by the first weapon, and the main shaft was uncovered. Weapons 2, 3, 4, 5 were tasked to enter the main shaft, move down into the complex at greater than 1,000 feet per second, and explode in the mission space. Weapon number 6 was designed on each side, so there were 6 on each side. Weapons number 6 was designed as a flex weapon to allow us to cover if one of the preceding jets or one of the preceding weapons did not work.
Look, Luke Skywalker had to send one little bullet into that one thing, that one little thingy to destroy the entire Death Star, right? We're talking about 6 Luke Skywalkers doing the same thing, pointing this gigantic weapon into like a hole the size of a wheelbarrow 6 times into the same hole from very, very, very far away. This is American ingenuity. This is American precision. This is what happens when you mess with the big boys. This is what happens when you mess with America. The first one removed the cap. The next 5, basically just turning everything into rubble. It reminds me of the 1967 war when, the 6-day war in Israel, when, they basically won the war within 20 minutes. And then the other 5 days was just cleaning up the mess. It was like, all right, clean up on aisle 6. This isn't Hollywood explosion. This isn't Hollywood explosions with massive craters. These weapons burrow deep and then they detonate. The general demonstrates the devastating physics of what happens inside the mountain. Check it out. Whoa. That is unbelievable, folks. Look at that. Look at that.
Keep it going for a minute. You'll see inside the mission space.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Unlike a normal surface bomb, you won't see an impact crater because they're designed to deeply bury and then function. I know there's been a lot of questions about that. All 6 weapons at each vent at Fordow went exactly where they were intended to go. A bomb has 3 effects that causes damage: blast, fragmentation, and overpressure. In this case, the primary kill mechanism in the mission space was a mix of overpressure and blast, ripping through the open tunnels and destroying critical hardware. The majority of the damage we assessed based on our extensive modeling was a blast layer combined with the impulse extending from the shock. Imagine what this looks like 6 times over.
What America has done is basically what a 5-year-old does when they step ant pile. This is what their tunnel, I mean, can you imagine just scurrying around underground like a bunch of insects? Like a bunch of insects with their caves and their tunnels and stuff like that. And then comes 5-year-old Trump, right? And just steps right on it. Overpressure and blast waves through the tunnels, centrifuges vaporized. Iran's nuclear dream turned to glass. Of course, the fake news tried to spin doubt. Secretary Hegseth explains how leakers with agendas tried to undermine this victory by selectively releasing very low confidence assessments. Check this out.
General, on Sunday you said final battle damage will take some time. And you also said, I think BDA is still pending, and it would be way too early for me to comment on what may or may not still be there at the nuclear facility. So that was just over 3 days ago. So what has changed? Would you use the term obliterated as well?
Sure, like I said, we don't do BDA. I'll refer that to the intelligence community. And
you're talking with them. I mean, what changed in the past 3 days that make you so,
sir, I think I said...
I think I explained what changed. There was a great deal of irresponsible reporting based on leaks, preliminary information in low confidence. Again, when someone leaks something, they do it with an agenda. And when you leak a portion of an intelligence assessment, but just a little portion, just the little portion that makes it seem like maybe the strike wasn't effective, then you start a news cycle, whether it's the Washington Post or Fox News or CNN or MSNBC. You start a news cycle that starts to call into question the efficacy. No, that's why. So you bring the chairman here, who's not involved in politics. He doesn't do politics. That's my lane to understand and translate and talk about those types of things. So I can use the word obliterated. He could use defeat, destroyed, assess, all of those things. But ultimately, we're here to clarify what these weapons are capable of, which anyone with, two eyes, some ears, and a brain can recognize that kind of firepower with that specificity at that location and others is going to have a devastating effect.
What I cannot stand about the mainstream media is that the lie is in the question. Makes me sick to my stomach to see, like why do these people even have a press pass? Like, how are they even allowed access to Pete Hegseth in this case? Like, all they're trying to do is undermine an extremely effective operation, an extremely effective administration. I mean, it makes sense why they're trying to do that. What doesn't make sense is why they have access. Low confidence means one thing. The evidence is buried under a collapsed mountain. Okay, we're going to go in there and we're going to dig it out, right? It's gone. It's done. It's obliterated. Get over it, okay? But strength creates opportunity for peace. Watch Hegseth explain how decisive action opened doors for diplomacy that were previously welded shut like the mountain that we just bombed the crap out of. Let's take a look.
Iran has recognized that their nuclear program was indeed severely damaged, but they also said that the U.S. strikes only strengthened their ability and their determination to complete their nuclear program. How do you respond to that, sir? Is that a provocation from Iran?
Well, I would say Iran's going to have to say a lot of things right now in order to bolster their image, especially internally. You know, in the media, there's a lot of things they'll say for domestic consumption. But we're watching very closely what they do. Again, that's the intel community. Our job as the chairman, the chairman laid it out so beautifully. Our job is to be prepared. And how proud are you? How proud am I? I didn't know the full story of those men and women 15 years ago who've been pointing at that target. That makes me proud to be an American. That's an awesome story. I hope we can tell more aspects of that in an unclassified way in the future. That's a great thing to know. Our job is to be prepared when the commander-in-chief calls based on those assessments. So, of course, our IC, the Intelligence Committee, will keep watching what Iran does and pay attention to that. But the president has created the contours, the opportunity for a deal, for peace, in something that the world said was intractable, that wasn't possible. And we got that peace, that ceasefire, that option, because of strength, because of his willingness to use American military might that no one else on the planet can do with the kind of planners and operators that the chairman just laid out.
From destruction comes the chance for peace. I mean, sadly, this was the only way. Death to America! Death to Israel! What were we supposed to do? What did anybody expect? But this is the Trump doctrine in action. Senator McCormick summed it up perfectly. This was American military excellence at its absolute finest. Perfect operational security, complete surprise, flawless execution. Take a look.
I don't know how any American could listen to General Caine talk about this mission and not think it was flawlessly executed. We'll get more on the battle damage assessment in the coming days, in the coming weeks, but a remarkable operation. And let's not forget that it was preceded by the Israelis taking out nuclear scientists, taking out the ballistic missile capability, and then something only the United States could do, which is this incredible attack on these 3 nuclear facilities. So when people say weeks, months, imagine what it must be like to go to Fordow right now and try to understand. It may be a live nuclear site for all we know in terms of those attacks on the centrifuge there. So this is, of course, dramatic damage on the nuclear program of Iran. How much that damage permeates the 3 facilities, I think we'll learn more about in the coming weeks. But absolutely flawlessly executed, flawless operational security, no leaks beforehand, a complete surprise. I think it was great leadership by the president and a great operation by the military.
I'm sure there are a lot of wonderful people in Iran But what a stupid country. What a stupid thing to do to try to fight this massive Goliath. Flawlessly executed. 0 leaks, total success. He said within 2 weeks. Not a lot of people thought that meant in a couple hours. That's what real leadership delivers. The press secretary delivered the final verdict. Every intelligence agency, ours, Israel's, the UN, even Iran, they agree on one thing. Take a look.
When we look at the entirety of the intelligence that we have to this date, it concludes that these strikes on the Iranian nuclear facilities were absolutely successful. It was a total obliteration, as the president said. And not only does our own intelligence say that, but also the Iranian foreign minister has said that. We saw Israel conclude the same thing based on their own intelligence. We also had the United Nations say that as well. So I think the only other time the United Nations, Israel, Iran, and the United States has agreed on something is that the sky is blue, but they all agree that Iran's nuclear facilities were completely demolished.
Total obliteration. When everyone from Tehran to Tel Aviv agrees that your nuclear program is gone, it's gone. Now think about what just happened. 2 Americans spent 15 years preparing for one moment. They created a weapon that didn't exist. Imagine going from bayonets to these 30,000-pound bunker busters in just a couple hundred years. That just doesn't even make sense. This is what American prowess looks like. They studied every detail that they knew so that they knew the mountain better than the Iranians who built it. And when the moment came, they delivered it perfectly. Now, if you got value from this report, please tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Now, this story proves American exceptionalism is not just a slogan. It's a promise. That's why they come this way. That's why they come across our borders to come here, not to leave. Wouldn't it be funny if Trump made a wall so that people wouldn't leave? That's just not the way it works here. People want to come here. They don't want to leave. 2 officers gave 15 years of their lives to keep you safe. And they didn't even seek glory or recognition. They just wanted to get the job done. They studied, planned, and waited. And when the moment came, they delivered devastation with precision that no other nation in the history of humanity could match. Iran thought that creating an anthill was going to work for them. That hiding their bombs in a mountain was going to make them untouchable. They learned what happens when you mess with the big boys. But here's what the media won't tell you. It wasn't just about destroying centrifuges. It was about sending a message that every rogue nation is going to have to receive. They're watching. You can run. You can hide your bombs in your hotels and your schools and your hospitals, but you cannot hide. You can bury your evil as deep as you can possibly bury it. We will find you. We will stop you. That's not warmongering. That's called peace through strength. Now, my question. Should America develop an even more powerful rubber baby bunker buster to deter future threats? Yes or no? Leave us your comment in the chat. Sound off. We want to hear everything you have to say. And don't forget to wear your American pride. Check out shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. We've got tons of new stuff coming out for you. You guys are going to love it. Now let's hit the chat room. Hey, Iran, leave U.S. damn alone, Sabrina. I agree with you. Look, here's the thing. If they would just stop their, the chance for our complete annihilation. I mean, name me one peaceful country that we've just decided to just bomb indiscriminately. Name one. In the history of this country, name one. Name one country where we were just like, oh, that looks like a non-threat, peaceful country. Let's just bomb them. Kibbs Ellis. Yes, my scarf flag looks good with my white jacket. I think I just intruded in a private conversation here. But you got it. Mark says, gone like a freight train, gone like yesterday, gone like a soldier in the Civil War, bang, bang. Listen, if there's one thing that has been made clear is the precision nature of our military. Like I mean, who knows if World War III would even cost American lives? I mean, we've got the technology to do this without shedding blood. I mean, other than the bad guys, I guess. Mark Severance says, the shining city on a hill shines again. Pop, we love you. You're the man. Pop, Mark Severance is a family relation. We love Pop. Pothead Kenny said, I love my N3 hat and shirt. You're going to want to definitely check out our merch shop, shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Definitely grab whatever you can. We've got some really great stuff coming. You're going to want to keep that, put that in your bookmarks. You're going to love it. The Pentagon press room just became a war zone. The Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, stood at that podium, looked straight into the cameras, and delivered the verbal equivalent of a MOAB, that's the mother of all bombs, to the entire mainstream media. CBS, CNN, MSDNC, the New York Slimes. He called them out by name. Not for bias, not for poor reporting, but for something far worse. Rooting against America's military success just because they hate Trump more than they love this country. What follows was the most brutal takedown of fake news ever delivered from an official podium. Reporters sat stunned as Hegseth exposed their games with receipts. That wasn't a press conference. It was a reckoning. Keep watching. The media spins lies when your children absorb their poison. Every headline teaches them America is evil, success is shameful, capitalism sucks, the truth is relative, boys can be girls. There is an antidote to this indoctrination. The Tuttle Twins. They have a magazine that teaches kids real economics, actual liberty, and personal responsibility through engaging comics and activities. No strange, weird, woke, tranny, DEI nonsense. No socialism, communism, fairy tales. Just timeless principles of freedom delivered monthly to your door. While fake news corrupts young minds with anti-American propaganda, the Tuttle Twins build tomorrow's patriots. Subscribe for just $56 per year at TuttleTwins.com/next. Don't let the media program your children. Teach them to think. All right, now Secretary Hegseth walked into that Pentagon briefing room with one mission: expose the media's treachery. What happened next should be taught in journalism schools as a cautionary tale, not to be a dumbass demagogue. Watch as Hegseth stares directly at the press corps and delivers the truth bomb that they never saw coming. This isn't diplomatic language. This is a warrior calling out traitors to their faces. Check it out.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard, It's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump because you want him not to be successful so bad. You have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it. Spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, fly a plane for 36 hours? Has MSNBC done that story? Has Fox? Have we done the story how hard that is? Have we done it 2 or 3 times so that American people understand how about how difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35? Or what it's like to man a Patriot battery? Or how hard it is to refuel midair? Giving the American people an understanding of how complex and sophisticated this mission really was. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that because of the hatred of this press corps are undermined because your people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible.
I literally don't know why these people even have access to these proceedings. He said it out loud. The press cheers against Trump so hard they root for American military failure. Totally un-American. And with such a delicate job, it's amazing. It's just incredible that these people aren't behind bars. What Hegseth was just he was just warming up. Watch him explain exactly how their hatred blinds them to the incredible achievements of our military heroes. The fake news would rather undermine American success than admit that Trump has delivered an historic victory. This goes beyond journalism. This goes beyond free speech. This is sabotage, sedition, possibly treasonous. I don't know. We'll see. The press tried to play their usual games, bringing up identity politics and gender. Not like anyone cares anymore. Like, I feel like that's just so like 2020. Watch how Hegseth shuts down their pathetic attempts to divide our military by race and sex.
Why not acknowledge the female pilots that also participated in this mission? The early messages that you sent out only congratulated the boys.
So when I say something like our boys and bombers, see, this is the kind of thing the press does, right? Of course, the chairman mentioned a female bomber pilot. That's fantastic. She's fantastic. She's a hero. I want more female bomber pilots. I hope the men and women of our country sign up to do such brave and audacious things. But when you spin it as, because I say our boys and bombers as a common phrase, I'll keep saying things like that, whether they're men or women. Very proud of that female pilot, just like I'm very proud of those male pilots. And I don't care if it's a male or a female in that cockpit, and the American people don't care. But it's the obsession with race and gender in this department that's changed priorities. We don't do that anymore. We don't play your little games.
We don't play your little games. Not this administration. That's the new reality for the activist press corps. Meanwhile, Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt took a scalpel to CNN's credibility, as if they had any. I mean, their only viewership is like while you're like walking from one terminal to another in an airport somewhere. She exposed their favorite journalist, Natasha Bertrand, and her decade-long pattern of publishing intelligence community lies. Check it out.
This was a low-confidence preliminary intelligence assessment, and the entirety of that assessment was not leaked to the media. Only tidbits of that assessment were leaked to CNN, and we have seen this playbook run before, where you have people in the intelligence community or perhaps on Capitol Hill, we don't know, but I believe the FBI is investigating to find out who that leaker was because it's illegal and they should be held accountable for that. Leaked bits and pieces of an intel assessment to push a false narrative. And it's to the same reporter, I will add, Natasha Bertrand of CNN, who has done this in the past. In 2020, it was Natasha Bertrand who had 51 intelligence analysts falsely lie to her, but she still put it on paper for some reason, that the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation. We all know that's not true, right? We can all agree on that now. That was a lie from the intelligence community. Also in 2020, this same reporter, Natasha Bertrand, wrote that a top intel agency ruled out the man-made lab leak theory of the coronavirus origins. Again, the president was right about that. This reporter wrote a lie from the intelligence community to seek a narrative she wanted to prove, and guess what? We now know that's the truth. Also, in 2024, Bertrand pushed the suckers and losers hoax. She also pushed the fine people hoax, which was taking the president's words purposely out of context. And then last October, and I believe this is notable, Natasha Bertrand published an article in Politico from the intelligence agency. She said that John Ratcliffe was speaking without any evidence when he said Iran was attempting to undermine President Trump's presidential campaign.
Our press corps needs to take a couple lessons from Poland's press corps. You know, we got the same reporter, same lies, same agenda. From Hunter's laptop to COVID origins to Iran, Bertrand just prints whatever the deep state feeds her. The Miami Herald got caught red-handed pushing fake news about DHS targeting foster children. Watch Levitt expose how they refuse to print facts that contradict their despicable, awful, anti-American narrative.
I saw that Miami Herald article yesterday, and I was aghast at the headline. It's egregious to accuse this administration of trying to target foster children. That is not at all what is happening at the Department of Homeland Security. And I learned that the Department of Homeland Security actually tried to work in good faith with this reporter to get this story right, to explain that this administration is trying to protect foster children. We are trying to keep children out of harm's way, even if that means their parents are not law-abiding citizens. We want to protect children, unlike the previous administration, which allowed children to be trafficked and raped, and in some cases killed because of the open border policies. Unfortunately, the Miami Herald just completely degraded themselves with this report, despite having a full list of facts from the Department of Homeland Security. It's another example of fake news. And the May border numbers speak for themselves. Not a single illegal alien was allowed into this country because of this administration's border policies in the month of May. That means not a single child was allowed into this country, possibly with human smugglers or human traffickers. And we know that was happening at the rate of thousands and thousands of children every single month in the previous administration for 4 years. And you didn't see any reporting of that from the Miami Herald, but now they're trying to accuse this administration. And we tried to give them the facts, and they refused to report them. So thank you for bringing that report to light.
They had the facts. They chose the lies. That is modern journalism in America. It's entirely unfortunate. The New York Times used to be a respectable company. It's incredible how far we have fallen. The EPA administrator Lee Zeldin caught a New York Times reporter who hadn't even read the document she was writing about. Watch this masterclass in exposing fake news in real time.
New York Times. Where has a judge said that this is fraud?
I'm saying New York Times said it, Lisa. Lisa, if New York Times is going to write that there is no evidence.
Not true, sir. We've written that that judges have not found.
Okay, over the last
accurate?
few months, Lee Zeldin, administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, has made explosive, you know this because you wrote it, has made explosive accusations against the Biden administration, accusing it of insane malfeasance in its handling of $20 billion in climate grants. Now, as a legal battle ensues over those funds, many of Mr. Zeldin's claims remain unsupported and some are flat out false. Why wouldn't you write that there is any evidence?
Could you point us to where the judges have found that there's waste, fraud,
Oh,
and
see,
abuse,
it's
sir?
not that easy for you, Lisa. See, because you guys are writing stories. These are your words. These aren't the judge's words. So if you want to ask the question, I'm referring to one of your stories. And this came out before the judge's decision came out. Now, if you were to, did you read the judge's 39-page decision?
Sir, with all
Have
due
you read the
respect,
39-page decision?
We've read the decision. We are basing our reporting on judges' rulings before then and since, and I'm just asking you, sir, where has the judge found that there is waste, fraud, and abuse?
So you read the 39-page decision supporting a preliminary injunction? What? It's okay if you say no.
Yeah, no, I've read all of it.
Okay, that's okay.
No, I didn't read all of it. How is she even there? How is she there? What are her qualifications? She wrote the story without reading the evidence, and this is a part of the narcissistic entitlement of the left. That tells you everything about their entire process. Leap before you look. Shoot and then aim. Secretary Rubio put the final nail in the coffin, explaining how these professional leakers manipulate intelligence to create a fake narrative. Check it out.
First of all this stuff about the intelligence, this is what a leaker is telling you the intelligence says. That's the game these people play. They read it, and then they go out and characterize it the way they want it characterized, and they're leakers. This is the game they play. So that's number one. Number two, here's a fact. The conversion facility, which you can't do a nuclear weapon without a conversion facility, we can't even find where it used to be on the map. You can't even find where it used to be because the whole thing is just blackened out. It's gone.
It's wiped out.
It's wiped out. Then we dropped 12 of the strongest bombs on the planet right down the hole in 2 places. Everything underneath that mountain is in bad shape. And I refer you to the statement of the IAEA, Mr. Grossi. You know what he said? He said there was Iran, the way it looked the day before the attack, and what their nuclear program looks like now. 2 very different things. They are way behind where they were just 7 days ago. Now, anything in the world can be rebuilt. But now we know where it is, and if they try to rebuild it, we'll have options there as well. But all this leaker stuff, these leakers are professional stabbers. That's what they are. They go out and they read this stuff, and then they tell you what it says against the law, but they characterize it for you in a way that's absolutely false. There's no way Iran comes to the table if somehow nothing had happened. This was complete and total obliteration. They're in bad shape. They are way behind today compared to where they were just 7 days ago because of what the president did.
You think Iran would come to the table and even consider a ceasefire if they weren't caught like with their pants down? You know, but what's insane is that this is what passes for journalism at the Communist News Network and the New York Slimes. You know, President Trump himself weighed in, calling out these networks by name and demanding that they apologize, not to him, to the soldiers, the pilots, the people who put their lives on the line to make this incredibly historic operation happen. Take a look.
That place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers. You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people. And the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times. But the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
I'm going to catch flack for this. But I'm just going to go out there and say it, okay? Donald Trump is a humble man. I know it doesn't feel like it sometimes, like with the tweets and with, you know, with the bravado oftentimes. But he's not asking for an apology for himself. He's asking for an apology for the people who put their lives on the line. These are citizens. These are soldiers. The American president said what every American thinks about our propaganda press. Like he's saying the quiet part out loud, the thing that you're not really allowed to say, right? Because free speech, we have free speech. Yeah, you are free to be a jerk. You are free to be a dumbass. Yes, that's true. Doesn't mean you should be. Now think about what we just witnessed. The Secretary of Defense had to hold a press conference, not to inform the public, but to combat deliberate lies from our own media. What an embarrassment. They're so consumed with Trump derangement syndrome and hatred that they'd rather see America fail than admit that Trump succeeded. These aren't journalists. These are enemy combatants in the information war against the American people, like Goebbels in Germany. Can you imagine the propaganda it took to propagate something like the Holocaust? Goebbels, CNN, MSNBC, New York Slimes. Now, if you got value from this report, please tap subscribe. My final thought is coming up post haste. This isn't about hurt feelings or mean tweets. This is about a media establishment that actively roots for American failure. They wanted those pilots to miss. They wanted us to fail this mission. They wanted Iran to keep their nukes. They wanted your sons and daughters to die in future wars just so they could blame Trump. Psychopathic narcissism is what I call it. And that's not hyperbole. And Pete Hegseth exposed this today. These people sit in newsrooms with their Columbia journalism degrees and their six-figure salaries, pecking away at their keyboards, typing stories that undermine the very soldiers who protect their freedom to lie. That is Shakespearean irony right there. They leaked classified intel, spun these false narratives, tried to steal victory away from American heroes who literally risked everything for you. For you. But here's the beautiful part about it. They failed. The truth won. You know, they say a lie can make its way around the world 5 times. Well, the truth is still getting its britches on. Not this time. Not this time. The truth won. The bombs hit their targets and the media hit rock bottom. They may as well have been a smoldering pile of ash heap in this Iranian mountain somewhere thousands of miles away. Now, let me ask you, should press credentials be revoked for reporters who publish leaked or classified information? Yes or no? Let me know, please. Tell me in the chat, please. I want to know. I'm going to read it. And while you're at it, check out shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Wear your support for real journalism. Now let's go to the chats. Love me some chats. Okay. Smippa says, I'm still waiting for perp walks. God, you hit the nail right on the head, man. Or woman. I don't know. But I agree with you so much. Listen, Trump had to do his own perp walk. Incredible, right? It's incredible when we think about how, like, the double standard, right? They can hit him for impeachment 1, 2, 3, 4, who knows how many times, but not one person. Obama can literally bomb American citizens with drones. Not a peep. You know where he is? Martha's Vineyard. He's having the time of his life. His wife is doing a podcast talking crap with her brother about nothing. A podcast that nobody cares about, that nobody even listens to. Okay. Gary Hastings says, Bigley, I agree with you 100%. Big league. I totally agree with you. Smipa says, middle of the night perp walk. Listen, they've been doing this to us for a while. It's like, listen, you can only like hammer at someone for so, you can only like try to harm someone so long, for so long until they actually respond in kind. I know Trump said this about Hillary. It's like, why wouldn't you? Because you'd be in jail, to Hillary. A little tongue in cheek. But he was basically saying the quiet part out loud, because that's what they do to us. That's not what we do to them. But maybe it's time we discuss some options. Maybe if they are so interested in accountability for our side, right? Maybe we should hold the mirror back up to their face and say, okay, like it's time that you are accountable for what you have done. And trust me, if they can get Trump on shit he never did, then we can get them on stuff that they actually did. Okay. Excuse my French. All right. Andrew Cuomo just got crushed by a 33-year-old socialist. Andrew Cuomo just got crushed by a 33-year-old socialist who wants to abolish the police. Not by a few votes, by 70,000. Zohran Mamdani didn't just win. He demolished the establishment Democrat by running on a platform that reads like the Communist Manifesto. Government grocery stores, $40 minimum wage, abolish prisons, free everything, paid for by $70 billion in new debt, healthcare, education, a new home, soda pop and Twinkies and everything. Like everything is free. Like we haven't heard this line before. Okay. The New York Post called it a political earthquake, but that's understating it. This is a tsunami that's about to drown America's biggest city in red ink and radical ideology. Even worse, not unexpected, AOC and Bernie Sanders are calling this their blueprint for 2028. What happens in NYC never stays in NYC. Keep watching. Now, while New York's socialist mayor promises free everything, your body's collagen is vanishing faster than businesses fleeing Manhattan, which, trust me, they are fleeing. Just like NYC residents escape to Florida for freedom, your collagen escapes daily. 1% yearly after 40. That's why I recommend Ageless Multi-Collagen. 5 types from 4 clean sources, hydrologized for absorption. No socialist policies needed, just real results. Unlike Mondavi's $70 billion debt promises, these deliver firmer skin, stronger joints, and healthier hair. No GMOs, no artificial ingredients, no government promises. Every order feeds hungry children through nokidhungry.org. Actual help, not communist fairy tales. Get 51% off by visiting healthwithgary.com. That is healthwithgary.com. Go now before your collagen flees like NYC's taxpayers. Your skin and confidence will thank you. 70,000 votes. That's how badly New York's Democrats just lurched left. Mamdani didn't even edge out Cuomo. It wasn't even a close call. He obliterated him. Watch this victory speech and witness the socialist takeover of America's most largest and most successful city.
Now, the 33-year-old state assemblyman held a commanding lead over the 3-term ex-governor all night long. Cuomo conceded in Tuesday's primary after trailing by roughly 70,000 votes. The New York Post asking for a lifeline on today's cover, calling Mamdani's victory a, quote, political earthquake, not just for the city, but for the entire state of the Democratic Party. And this might be why. Here are just some of his plans for New York City. Watch.
and our police force should not be assisting ICE.
Defund the NYPD and refund all of these different social services.
I will create a network of city-owned grocery stores. It's like a public option for produce.
I'll freeze the rent for millions of tenants, make buses fast and free, and deliver universal childcare. And before you ask, I'll pay for it by taxing the rich.
The mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism.
All right. They want to freeze rent, free buses, universal childcare, tax the rich to death until they're no longer rich. Of course, that's what they don't want you to have more money. They just want the rich people to have less money. This is not about liking you. This is about hating them. You know, Venezuela called and they want their playbook back. The political establishment sees the writing on the wall. AOC is already measuring drapes for 2028. We cannot let that happen, by the way. Listen to CNN's analyst of what this means for the radical left's national ambitions. Let's check it out.
Mamdani was endorsed by key progressives like Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. AOC pushed for voters to choose his ultra-liberal policies. And now that her endorsement helped lock in his likely nomination, it may signal a path for AOC with voters in 2028. Political commentator Chris Cillizza put it this way.
If I'm Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who, as I mentioned, endorsed Mamdani, and I see this result, I am thinking this is terrific for me. It shows that there's energy in the liberal activist base of the party. It shows that the establishment is crumbling, right? All these politicians who are not AOC, other than Bernie Sanders, are in some way, shape, or form part of the establishment, right? Josh Shapiro or Gretchen Whitmer or Gavin Newsom, all these people have spent years in elected office. If I'm looking at this, I am thinking this bodes very well for me. It suggests that mad as hell Democratic voters are not going to just default back to a Joe Biden-like figure in 2028.
Mad as hell Democratic voters. It's kind of funny. I mean, they're always mad as hell about anything, nothing, everything, nothing. But that's their base now. Angry socialists who think that money grows on trees. They don't understand how value is transferred from one person to another. Mamdani, Yabba Dabba Doo, went on MSNBC to spread this gospel of government control. Watch him admit that he thinks socialism will work everywhere in America, as if it hasn't been tried before. Check it out.
You're running on issues that are very relevant to people in New York City, the cost of housing, free busing. Some have projected, that this is the type of platform that would work in other parts of the country. I mean, you're a proud Democratic socialist. Do you think that is a platform that would work for other candidates running in other parts of the country?
Absolutely. I think ultimately this is a campaign about inequality. And you don't have to live in the most expensive city in the country to have experienced that inequality because it's a national issue. And what Americans coast to coast are looking for are people who will fight for them, not just believe in the things that resonate with their lives, but actually fight and deliver on those very things. And part of how we got to this point was through the endorsements of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Bernie Sanders, who've been leading this fight against oligarchy across the country. And I think that in focusing on working people and their struggles, we also return back to what makes so many of us proud to be Democrats in the first place.
All right, this guy is not a Democrat. He is a communist. His playbook comes directly out of the Soviet Union's, out of Russia's manifesto, the Constitution. Free healthcare, free education, free housing, free everything. Everything that you could possibly think of, it's free. This cancer isn't contained to New York. They want to infect your city next. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis can barely contain his laughter because of how insanely funny it is to think that somebody could come in this country, not even from here, after The entire 20th century was like littered with human lives because of the failure of communism. Hundreds of millions of lives. He's watching New York commit economic suicide while his state gets richer by the day. That's my state, by the way. Love me some Daddy D. Love me some Daddy D. Listen to him explain the gift that Mamdani Yabba Dabba Doo just handed Florida. Thank you very much. Let's take a look.
People were fleeing Chicago, going places like Naples. And then they elected the guy they have now, who's even worse. And so you've seen even a bigger reaction. And I kind of feel like New York's doing that. De Blasio caused a lot of people to flee that city. And I saw it firsthand with the amount of wealth that moved into Florida and the businesses. And so now they're in a situation where this guy that they just nominated, he will be worse than de Blasio. He wants to eliminate the NYPD. I'll tell you what, when NYPD officers move to Florida and they work for our law enforcement, we give them a $5,000 signing bonus. We believe in law enforcement in Florida. He wants to take over grocery stores and have government run the grocery stores. Can you imagine the disaster that will be? He wants to eliminate cash bail. So his ideas, first of all, a lot of them have been tried in places like San Francisco, and they have failed miserably. To the extent he's got these far left ideas that have not yet been implemented, I guarantee you it will be disastrous. And so, look, I'm not asking for anyone to come to Florida. We've got 23.5 million people, Laura.
Yeah,
New York only has 19.5 million now. So we have way more people than they do. And this is likely just going to dig that hole even deeper for them.
Love me some Daddy D, but I want to thank Curio23 for the super chat. He said, "What's it called when someone steals your coffee? A mugging." Let me show you something. Look at this. Look at this little bad boy on my face. I survived a mugging too, and it was a Polish citizen who saved my face. My face. It was like that. It was like that movie from that Face Off. My face was literally peeling off my face. A Polish citizen, American citizen from Poland, saved my face. All right, $5,000 signing bonuses for fleeing NYPD officers. That's how you build a state while others destroy theirs. Absolutely insane. The resistance is forming, but it might be too late. Eric Adams is trying to rally the sane Democrats who are left. Not many of them. I hope there are more. I hope there are more than we can see in the mainstream media, because what's happening is absolutely incredibly insane. Watch this desperate plea to stop this socialist takeover. Take a look.
Really overwhelmed about the love and support that's coming from this community. I need you now. 4 quick things. 1, I'm going to send in this message my donation page. Please go make a donation and send it out to your friends and families and groups. 2, I'm going to attach my volunteer link. Anyone who desires to volunteer, click on that link, and it allows you to sign up and be one of our volunteers. 3, I want you to post me on your page and send out messages to people that you know and that support of what we are doing. And 4, one of the most important things that we can do, I want you to ensure to come out to my announcement tomorrow, steps of City Hall, 12 p.m. Be there or be square.
4 quick things, he says. But here's one thing. New York is about to become Caracas with better pizza. The hypocrisy is absolutely staggering. Mamdani wants to abolish the NYPD while being protected by armed officers. Watch Curtis Sliwa expose this socialist double standard. But I repeat myself.
If we can pull up some of his proposals here. You got freeze the rent, city-run grocery stores, $70 billion worth of debt to fund affordable housing, free buses, no-cost childcare, baby baskets to newborns, $30 minimum wage, a few more not on this list here, defund NYPD, defund prisons, defund medical bills, and get rid of private insurance. Your thoughts?
But in typical political fashion, do as I say, not as I do. He claims he's under threat, right? So who's protecting him now? Off-duty NYPD armed officers. Who does he want protecting New Yorkers? Social workers. Yeah. Hey, Mandami, do what you suggest everybody do. Why isn't he being protected by social workers? I'm a guy who was shot 5 times by the Gattis and Gambinos in 1992. I travel by myself. I'm in the streets. I'm in the subways. I'm the people's mayor. You have to have a feel. You know, I hate to break the baby boomers' bubble, because I'm a baby boomer. The millennials are the majority now. Do the analytics. You must get millennials on your side to win elections. I've been working with young people my whole life as leader of the Guardian Angels here and in 13 countries and 130 cities around the world. You need to be able to motivate people. Look, fault him as you will. You keep throwing stuff at him, you just strengthen him with millennials. We have to bring the millennials to us. Wasn't Trump able to do that with male millennials?
Yep. Free housing, free busing, free groceries. Next thing he's going to say is that we're going to put an end to jealousy or human frailty or the weather change. You know, this is the kind of narcissistic, psychopathic stuff. Like this is all right. Listen, there's a practice in Islam. It's called taqiyya. This is where you are literally allowed to lie and cheat and steal your way out of situations just like this. He's a practicing Muslim, right? Right? I mean, if he believes in Islam, then he believes in taqiyya. That he can lie and he can not tell the truth in order to attain power. And once he attains power, that's when the Trojan horse comes out. We're going to end jealousy. This is all this weird, strange, insane pie in the sky stuff. And what does he do? He wants people to pay for it. By the time this stuff gets funded, the people who are paying for it are going to be long gone. Social workers for thee, armed guards for me. Next thing he's going to come out against, possession of guns, right? He's going to come out for gun control. That's socialism in practice, okay? But I read it in Animal Farm when I was a kid, in like middle school. This is what happens. This is what socialism and communism is. It's okay for me to do it, not okay for you to do it. Some rules are okay for me, but they're not okay for you. That is socialism and communism in practice. But wait, there's more insanity. Here is Mamdani's full platform being discussed. And yes, it gets entirely worse. Check it out.
Think about this for a moment. He wants to raise 1%. He wants to raise tax on 1% of New Yorkers' high-income earners. As the mayor, you don't have the authority to do that. You know who has the authority to do that? An assemblyman, which he is. He wants to do free buses. He could have done it at assemblyman. I'm looking forward to being on the campaign trail and showing New Yorkers we can't go backwards.
He will run as an independent. One of the things that Mamdani did, though, and it wasn't just that he was able to bring millennials. There was, first of all, the way he communicated, which was very different than how Cuomo did. Cuomo was very establishment in terms of the old way of communicating. But also, Mamdani had a relentless focus on the issue of affordability. And that was speaking to those millennials. So what would your agenda be in terms of economic growth or fiscal sanity so that younger people feel like they can actually achieve the American dream?
Well, part of what has happened here in the city is the developers and the realtors have wanted to go into the outer boroughs, which is my strength, the blue-collar working class. Remember, that's what the Republicans have become, the party of the blue-collar working class. The Democrats have forsaken that. People who own homes, they've invested in the American dream. A lot of first-generation immigrants who came in the legal way, and they're waiting for their relatives and friends to follow, unlike the migrants who were given everything for free. Who gave them everything for free?
Look, where's a goat when you need one? Developers and realtors fleeing to the outer boroughs. Like, even the millionaires can't escape the madness fast enough. New York City is just signed its own death warrant. It's insane. Businesses will flee. Police will quit. Do you think you're going to have police representing this man? I just don't think it's going to happen. Like, doing his bidding. Taxpayers are going to run for the borders. And when I say borders, I mean from New York to Florida. And we welcome you. Okay? What's left will make Detroit look like a kingdom. Okay? If you got value from this report, please tap subscribe. My final thought is next. New York City just voted to become America's first communist experiment since, I'm not sure it's actually ever happened before. Because America doesn't do communism. We fought wars to stop it, built walls to contain it, and watched it fail everywhere in the world that it has been tried. But 33-year-old Mom Dami thinks he's smarter than history. He's not. But you know what? Maybe he is. You know, maybe he's got like a little weird plan going on. I don't know the guy. I am anxious to see what happens next. I believe that the rich will flee, taking their tax dollars to Florida and Texas, places where we actually have bastions of freedom. The middle class will follow, running from $40 minimum wages that kill their jobs. Who's left? The poor, depending on government grocery stores with empty shelves? Ask Venezuela how that worked out. This isn't just New York's problem. AOC and Bernie are taking notes and planning to spread this position nationwide in 2028. We need to be keeping a very close eye on this. You know, they call it democratic socialism. That is a euphemism. You know, they say democratic socialism, communism, soft socialism, hard socialism. Like, my history book calls it suicide. Here's my question. Would you stay in New York City under socialist rule or flee to a free state? You built your home there. You built your business there. You built your family there. Would you stay under this man? Answer below. Check it out. Blast our chat. Blast our chats. We want to hear everything you have to say. I want to make sure you show your support at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Let's go to the chat. My favorite part of the night. Michael Jones says it's just socialism. I couldn't agree with you more. There's no, listen, they're going to, listen, one of the things that the left is slippery. They will figure out a euphemism for this. Today it's BLM. Tomorrow it's Pride Month. Now you're transphobic. Now you're racist. You're homophobic. They're going to figure out a way to guilt you into abiding by their plan, which has nothing to do with you. They want you to think that it has something to do with you, but it really doesn't. All it has to do is them assuming and maintaining an amount of power that keeps you broke, dumb, dependent, and completely ignorant as to what they're doing. Let's see. Brett, you couldn't pay me enough to stay in New York. I won't even visit, said Patricia Duff. That's how I feel about Miami. And I love Florida. That's the thing. I love Florida. There are some places that you have to pay me to visit, but I'm not sure right now. Listen, Disney World, Just like Gary was saying the other day, our trusty leader, Gary, he went down to Florida and he had an opportunity to take his kids to the age-old, the tried and true Disney World, and he took his kids to Universal instead. Disney World, where you're going to get chased around by a bunch of princesses with mustaches. No, he took his kids to the other place. Doesn't matter where, just not that place. Pothead Kenny said, New York is their dumping ground at this point. I listen, I love New York. I've been to New York many, many times. I've been to New York City. I've seen, like, to see that the beautiful city, like, it's just an amazing triumph of capitalism and human ingenuity that came and just this, it was just a ballet of amazing human events happening at the same time. I just cannot stand the idea of being in a place where someone like that is running the show. Okay. You know, we got week 22 of Trump's presidency, just delivered more wins than Biden managed in 4 years. Iran's nuclear program is gone to ashes. Gas prices, they're plummeting. Tax cuts, massive. Fake news, humiliated. In one press conference, Carolyn Leavitt laid out an agenda that makes Reagan look like a moderate. And we love us some Reagan, okay? $10,000 more in your pocket. 15% tax cuts for working families. Gas cheaper than it has been since Biden took office. And Iran's nuclear scientists are updating their resumes for their workplace because their workplace just became a parking lot. I'm pretty sure they're not updating their resumes because they're probably hanging tight in the hot place with the hot man. The establishment said Trump couldn't deliver this in 1 week, let alone in 22. They said it wrong. What you're about to see proves the golden age isn't coming. It's already here. Keep watching. Now, while Trump secures America's future by destroying threats abroad, we must secure our food chain at home. The American bee population faces collapse, threatening our entire natural food supply. Patriot Bee Best fights back with education and action. Their digital bee sanctuary spreads vital knowledge about bee restoration and preservation. For just 17 cents a day, you can support both this show and save American bees. This veteran-owned business knows that strong nations need strong food chains. Visit patriotbeebest.com to join, subscribe, donate to the Hive. While Trump makes America safe, help make America's food supply secure. Catch the buzz today. Peace through strength. Dead enemies make peaceful neighbors. Obliterating nuclear sites make honest negotiators. Watch Carolyn Leavitt explain how Trump ended decades of appeasement with 12 massive bombs. Take a look.
With President Trump as commander-in-chief, the world is a much safer place. After decades in which past presidents coddled and enabled the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, President Trump finally ended the immediate threat of a nuclear Iranian regime. Following President Trump's command, the most powerful military in the history of the world executed massive precision strikes on 3 of the Iranian regime's key nuclear facilities. The objective of Operation Midnight Hammer was to destroy the regime's nuclear enrichment capacity and stop the grave nuclear threat posed to the United States, Israel, and the rest of the free world. The mission, which will go down in the history books, was an overwhelming success. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Dan Raisin Caine covered the operation in great detail at their briefing this morning at the Pentagon, and I encourage every American to watch it. As President Trump has said repeatedly, the United States of America has the greatest, fiercest, and bravest armed forces ever to stride the face of this earth. And we couldn't be more grateful and proud of our nation's warriors.
I'm grateful and proud too. You know, after decades of coddling terrorists, Trump finally delivered what Obama and Biden wouldn't. They could have. Same office, same power. Trump just had the balls to commit to the actual results that make the world safer. But destroying Iran's nuclear program was just the appetizer, the main course. America is the main course. Making things better for us here at home, making life affordable again. Watch Leave It drop the news about gas prices that has the climate cold, crying.
Now back here at home, Americans are paying much cheaper prices for gasoline this summer, as both the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times pointed out today. Here's how the Wall Street Journal put it. Hitting the road this summer won't bring as much of a big hit to your wallet. The national average for a gallon of regular gasoline is about 23 cents cheaper than this time last year. Analysts say plentiful supply is expected to keep prices down in the coming months. These are the cheapest gas prices at this point of the summer since 2021. And despite all the doom casting from liberal pundits, oil prices on Tuesday were lower than before the Israel-Iran conflict began. As President Trump continues to unleash American energy, our country will have even more efficient, reliable, and affordable energy to protect our national security and fuel our people.
23 cents cheaper than last year, the cheapest summer gas since 2021. That is what energy dominance delivers. Now, for the real details in Iran, those were weeks away from a bomb. Weeks, not years. Like Obama claimed while shipping pallets of cash. Can you believe that? That made me so mad. Watch Levitt expose the difference between Democrat appeasement and Trump strength. Check it out.
The Iranian regime was weeks away from being able to produce a nuclear weapon that would threaten the entire world before President Trump took this decisive action on Saturday night to obliterate their nuclear capabilities. The contrast in leadership could not be more clear. Barack Obama and Joe Biden sent pallets of cash, American taxpayer dollars, in a failed attempt to buy the Iranian regime's compliance with a weak and ineffective deal. President Trump sent a fleet of American warplanes to destroy Iran's ability to produce a nuclear weapon. The United States and the entire world are safer because of this president's decisiveness. Despite agenda-driven leaks by the fake news media aimed at undermining this incredible accomplishment achieved by President Trump and our brave fighter pilots, there is broad consensus emerging already that Iran's nuclear capabilities were indeed destroyed. The United States, Israel, the United Nations, and even Iran all agree they can no longer build a nuclear weapon. So why did the president immediately turn to obliterating after the Iranian nuclear threat? Securing peace. Within 48 hours of the devastating strike, President Trump and his team brokered a historic ceasefire between Israel and Iran and officially ended the 12-day war. The Middle East is now shifting away from chaos and bloodshed and moving toward the beginning stages of a new era of peace and stability that President Trump has long called on them to achieve. This was unthinkable at this time last week, and this is what peace through strength looks like.
Obama sent pallets of cash. Biden's handlers sent weakness. Trump sent American Grombas, technology, bombers. Guess which one actually worked? Tax cuts coming your way that we're not talking about pocket change here. This is real stuff. This is transformational policy that puts real money in real pockets. Watch the announcement of the one big, beautiful bill that's about to change your life. Check this out.
Later this afternoon here at the White House, the president will host a One Big Beautiful event in the East Room to rally Republicans to get the One Big Beautiful bill across the finish line. At that event, he will be joined by everyday Americans from across the country who will massively benefit from the common sense policies and provisions within this bill. This is the largest tax cut for working and middle-class Americans in history, and it's going to put more money into the pockets of hardworking Americans. Families will see an average increase in take-home pay of more than $10,000 per year. Americans earning between $30,000 and $80,000 per year will see a 15% tax cut. Overtime and tipped workers will save thousands of dollars annually, and our amazing seniors will receive historic financial relief by reducing the tax burden on their Social Security benefits. Simply put, this bill is going to unlock the golden age of America. And we look forward to continuing to work with the Senate and the House to see this bill on the president's desk for signature by Independence Day.
$10,000 more per year for families, American families. 15% cuts for the middle class. This is what winning looks like. Are you tired of winning? I'm not tired of winning. I could keep going. I'll be up for a while. We could keep winning. But Trump isn't done. He wants peace through strength, not endless war. Watch how diplomatic channels opened because our enemies now fear us again. And thank God. Let's take a look.
The president wants peace. He always has. And right now we're on a diplomatic path with Iran. The president and his team, namely Special Envoy Witkoff, continue to be in communication with the Iranians and especially our Gulf and Arab partners in the region to come to an agreement with Iran. As for our alliance with the State of Israel and that friendship and that partnership between the United States and the State of Israel, I would argue it has never been stronger. And we see a new era in which perhaps some of these Gulf and Arab states can sign on to the Abraham Accords. That was one of the president's most signature accomplishments in his first term, and he'd like to see more of those countries sign on in this second term. And so we look forward to sustaining a long and durable peace in the region, and the president wants to do that through a diplomatic solution. But as he proved on Saturday night, he's not afraid to use strength if we need to do it.
Abraham Accords expansion, new Gulf partnerships. When you negotiate from strength, everyone wants to be your friend. Now, finally, watch Leavitt handle the fake news trying to spin Medicaid reform as cuts. This administration doesn't cut. It eliminates waste. There's a huge difference. Check it out.
I think our friends in both the Senate and the House know exactly where the president stands on Medicaid. He wants to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse, and they are working to do that in the Senate right now.
Waste, fraud, and abuse. That's what's getting cut. Not your grandmother's welfare, not your grandmother's health care, not their Medicaid, not the Medicare. That's not what's happening. Waste, fraud, and abuse. We're not giving Happy Meals to illegal immigrants anymore. Think about what we just witnessed. In one press conference, this administration announced military victory, economic relief, energy independence, and diplomatic breakthroughs. Obama needed 8 years to fail at all of this. Biden couldn't do it. That guy couldn't even walk up a flight of stairs, okay? But Trump, week 22, and he's just getting warmed up. This is crazy. Never seen anything like this in my entire life. Iran's nuclear program is rubble. Your gas tank costs less to fill. Your paycheck is about to grow. The world respects America again. This isn't complicated. Strong leaders get results. Weak leaders make excuses and blame the other guy. And they try to gaslight the entire country. Trump doesn't make excuses. He is making world history. You know, when I was in school, I used to think American history, and then we blow it up a little bit and we have world history. After this, we're going to have another class that's even larger. This is human history. Every single day, he proves the establishment wrong. Every policy, every decision, every victory builds the golden age that he promised. And this is like happening right before your eyes. We don't even have to make it up. This is happening. The media wants you focused on their fake scandals and these manufactured outrage about, oh, were enough women involved in this attack against Iran? Like, oh, but we hate the attack against Iran, but One day we're going to figure out exactly what they actually stand for. My guess is that it's nothing. Meanwhile, Trump is putting money in your pocket and keeping bombs out of terrorists' hands. That's the difference between rhetoric and results. Now, if you got any value from this report, please, please, please tap subscribe. My final thought is next. You know, this is what America First really means. Not empty slogans or broken promises, actual victories you can measure with dollars, cents, enemies defeated. Iran's nuclear program took 15 years to build and 15 minutes for America to destroy. That is American power when wielded correctly. Your take-home pay jumping by 10 grand. That's American prosperity. That is the shining city on a hill. Gas prices dropping while we blow up our enemies. That's having a president who understands that you can walk and chew gum at the same time. Look, we've been used to a president who can't even walk, so I know this is like totally outrageous, but this is happening. The establishment told you that Trump was too old, too tired, too distracted to deliver a second term. Does the guy look too old or too distracted or too tired to you? He doesn't to me. Week 22. Week 22. This is crazy. We've got years to go, baby. We've got years to go. We're not even halfway through this year. This is going to be amazing. He's not slowing down. He's speeding up. Every week brings a new win that real leaders do. That is what real leaders do. They deliver. Let me ask you, what matters more to you? 10,000 in tax cuts or knowing that Iran can't nuke Israel? Drop your answer below. Show your support. Shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Now let's take a look at the chats. All right. Tom B420 says, I tried to state positively high. You and me both, brother. You and me both. Gibbs Ellis, going to prolonged price drop. Say it, believe it. Make it so. Make it so. That reminds me of Star Trek. Sabrina, shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Thank you for supporting our link. That really makes us feel good deep down inside. Let's see what else is happening in the chats. Let's see what is happening in the chat. Ronald, please sign me up for the next group hug. Can I just... Okay. I got you, man. I got you, Ronald. Gibbs Ellis, live long and prosper. I think that means you got my joke or someone's joke. That was good. Robert Lockhart said, great show, Brett. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. We always hope to bring you the, we want to bring you the excellence here. Sabrina, TuttleTwins.com/next. Thank you so much for supporting our links and our sponsors. Listen, every time you support one of our sponsors, a fairy grows its wings back. Okay. Gibbs Ellis, Brett, a bear market means prolonged price drops. I am inclined to agree. When you say bear, are you talking grizzly, koala? All right, let's hit our trivia. Okay. Which famous journalist was fired from CBS News in 2004 after running a false story about President George W. Bush's military service? Trivia answer B. Dan Rather. Dan Rather was forced to resign from CBS after pushing forged documents about Bush's National Guard service. Fake news has a long history. Listen, the folks at the folks at the mainstream media, they never really cease to disgust me. I mean, you can see it in their eyes too. You don't even, I mean, you can fact check and everything, but it's like you can tell that they're lying. You can tell when someone doesn't believe that the words that they're saying. So we're not talking about journalists, we're talking about actors. And the better they can act, the better they can deceive you. But they're not really actors though. This is why we've seen this lurch in Hollywood towards the left. Thankfully, places like Disney are finally coming up, coming out of their malaise and saying, finally, people are going to stop watching us. Disney is a tried and true brand, but ever since they started pushing these weird trans characters and making movies that are, totally just DEI characters, and they're not telling stories anymore. If we want to start to, if the mainstream media wants us to trust them again, they're going to have to start telling us the truth. Now, patriots, we have just witnessed history in real time. 5 stories that prove the establishment's worst nightmare, and it has a name, and its name is Donald Trump. NATO is finally paying their bills after 75 years of American charity. Places like Estonia and the beautiful country Poland, where the beautiful people come from, they're happy to go along with Trump's agenda. 5% of GDP, that's not a suggestion anymore. It's a requirement. Trump didn't ask nicely. He demanded respect, and for the first time since 1949, he got it. Every dollar our allies spend is a dollar that you keep. That's the art of the deal playing out on the world stage. Operation Midnight Hammer just entered the history books. 15 years of planning, 12 massive bombs, and Iran's nuclear dreams are now radioactive rubble under a mountain. 2 American officers gave their career to see this moment come to fruition, and when the president called, they delivered perfection. No other nation could have done this, not in the history of humanity. This is not American history. This is not world history. This is human history. No other leader could have ordered it, but Trump did, and the world is safer tonight. The media meltdown at the Pentagon, that wasn't journalism dying. That was journalism being exposed as already dead. They are already 6 feet underground. Secretary Hegseth called them what they are: anti-American advocates rooting for our military to fail because they hate Trump more than they love their country, and I would even dare to say more than they love their own lives. They leaked classified intel, spun false narratives, tried to steal glory from our amazing pilots, our skilled pilots. They failed. And now everyone knows exactly what they are. New York City just voted to become Venezuela with better bagels. Although in due time, I'm pretty sure they won't have better bagels. 70,000 Democrats picked a socialist who wants to abolish the police while hiding behind armed guards. Talk about flagrant hypocrisy. $40 minimum wage. I remember, I'm old enough to remember when they were fighting for 15. Now we're at 40. That's incredible. $70 billion in new debt. It's a communist's fever dream that will turn Manhattan into Montagua. Florida already printing welcome packets for the fleeing refugees. It's funny, we're going to be calling New Yorkers refugees here in Florida. And through it all, Trump keeps delivering. Gas prices down, tax cuts, Iran completely defanged, economy booming. Week 22, and he's just warming up. Get ready, libs. We've got another several years of this to go. You guys are going to be so upset. The golden age isn't some distant promise. You are literally living it right now. To everyone who sent super chats and rumble rants tonight, you are the real MVPs of this. Your support keeps independent media alive while big tech wants us dead. They want us dead in the water. You're not just viewers, you are freedom fighters in the information war. Hit up shop.nextnewsnetwork.com and wear your support proudly. We have A lot of new stuff coming. You're going to want to keep an eye on that. Every shirt, every hat, every sticker tells the establishment that we are not going away. We are growing. Tell a friend about tonight's show. Text them the link on your phone. We want to bypass all the algorithms. Share this on X. Break through the big tech overlords with human connections. This is how we win. One patriot at a time, one truth at a time, one broadcast at a time. This is the Raw Feed. My name is Brett Siegel, always broadcasting to you live from my safe space in a bunker in northern Florida, where I am free from your bigotry, racism, hatred, microaggressions, patriarchy, and your rubber baby bunker busters. Don't even try it. We are totally, even our warriors couldn't get to where we are right now. This is where the establishment's lies come to die. I am Brett Siegel, filling in for Gary Franchi, saying goodnight, stay strong, and we will see you next time. Keep fighting, patriots. America is counting on you.
Trending high.